Greetings from Story Labs, Cheating Saga. Share your location and let me know where you're tuning in from. I never envisioned myself as a clandestine recorder, but when the world crumbles beneath you and those you trusted turn their backs, one learns to safeguard oneself in ways unimagined. My name is Michael, and this is my tale of how my former spouse came dangerously close to ruining my life in a courtroom battle over divorce, until a single recording turned everything around. It all began 3 years ago when I unearthed that my wife Jennifer was involved with her personal trainer, Kyle. A marriage spanning 22 years, children in college, and she squandered it all on a man who flaunted his abs but had no reliable income source. The revelation process was harrowing, not just emotionally but also practically. My wife Jennifer had been meticulously planning this for months, possibly years. While I was putting in 60-hour weeks at my accounting firm to secure our financial future, she was strategically setting me up for a financial drubbing in the courtroom. She covertly shifted funds, recorded each minor dispute we'd ever had, and most alarmingly, she constructed a narrative that portrayed me as financially abusive and emotionally detached. The divorce process commenced, and I soon understood I was at a disadvantage. Jennifer enlisted Catherine Morrison, the relentless divorce attorney in our city, known for dismantling husbands, leaving them with only child support payments and counseling expenses. In contrast, I had Bob Chun, a good-natured lawyer who primarily worked on business contracts. From the start, he was overwhelmed. The initial hearings were calamitous. Catherine portrayed me as a workaholic neglecting family while amassing wealth and dictating financial matters unilaterally. Each extended workday was depicted as abandonment, each investment for our future as financial dominance, and every attempt to discuss finances as economic manipulation. Judge Patricia Williams appeared to accept her narrative without reservation. Known for advocating for women during divorce settlements, which is generally admirable. However, Jennifer was misusing this advocacy as a means of financial exploitation. The critical moment occurred in a contentious mediation session. We were seated in Catherine's conference room, and Jennifer was pressing for the house, half my retirement funds, lifelong alimony, and full custody of our nearly adult children who barely resided at home. Michael must comprehend, Catherine stated, readjusting her pricey glasses, that his history of financial exploitation has repercussions. My client is entitled to compensation for 2 decades of economic restriction. I was on the verge of laughter. Economic suppression? We resided in a 4,000-square-foot house in the most desirable neighborhood in town. Jennifer drove a BMW and had been unemployed by choice for 15 years. Our children attended private schools and went on European vacations. But it was at this juncture that I made the wisest decision of my life. Instead of reacting angrily, I remained composed and posed a straightforward inquiry. Jennifer, could you provide some concrete instances of this alleged financial abuse? I wish to comprehend so I can adjust. Bob, mistakenly thinking I was confessing, gave me a nudge under the table. However, for the past 3 weeks, I've been recording all our conversations on my phone. I wanted Jennifer to speak on record. You never allowed me to spend money without approval, she responded. You scrutinized every purchase I made. You made me feel ashamed for buying new clothes or getting a haircut. I empathically nodded in response. Could you please specify the amounts? Like what exact purchases are we discussing? Catherine attempted to interject, but Jennifer was now pouring out her feelings, having harbored resentment for months and wanting me to hear it all. The Pilates classes, the spa weekends with Lisa, the home renovations I desired. These were among the instances she mentioned. You'd always emphasize the importance of saving money, she added. But then you'd squander thousands on your investments. What's the approximate amount you'd budget monthly for these items? I don't have a figure. Perhaps around 3,000 or 4,000. That seems reasonable for my circumstances, Jennifer replied, but Catherine eventually silenced her. The harm was already done as Jennifer had admitted to me on tape that her limitation to $4,000 a month in discretionary spending was not financial abuse. But this wasn't the key recording. 2 weeks later, Jennifer began calling me directly, disregarding Catherine's advice, hoping to negotiate privately. She thought she could deceive me more effectively without legal representation. These calls were rich sources of contradictions and revelations. The most valuable one occurred on a Tuesday night when Jennifer, under the influence of wine and Feeling triumphant, said, "You know, Michael, I almost feel sorry for how this is going to end for you, but you brought it upon yourself. If you had consented to counseling a year ago as I suggested, none of this predicament would have arisen. You were so obstinate, leaving me no alternative but to seek solace elsewhere. In essence, that's what you're implying, isn't it? The affair was my fault. I contend that you drove me into Kyle's arms. A woman has necessities, Michael, emotional ones, physical ones. When you prioritize your job over your spouse, what did you anticipate? Moreover, Catherine claims we have a strong case for financial manipulation charges against you. Judge Williams is known to despise men who wield money. We stand to gain everything, and you'll likely spend the subsequent decade rectifying your errors. Everything refers to what specifically? Clearly, the house. Potentially permanent alimony payments might be in store for at least 15 years. Half of your 401k, half of your business equity are also at risk. Catherine suggests we might target your inheritance from your mother. Your mother passed away 6 months prior, leaving you her modest house which you intended to pass on to your children someday. What about Kyle? I inquired. Jennifer chuckled. Yes, laughed. What about him? He's not going anywhere, Michael. In fact, once this is all settled, he's moving into our house. Well, my house, it's going to be perfect for us. She has been planning this for quite some time, I gathered. Planning what? She explained she had been planning to find happiness and a partner who truly cared about her. Yes, she admitted, she had been planning a divorce, the financial aspects included. Another bout of laughter escaped her lips. Catherine has been documenting your behavior for 8 months, she disclosed. Every argument, every time you turned down something I desired, every late night at work. We have evidence dating back nearly a year. 8 months. So you were planning this before the affair began. Oh, Michael. Her tone had turned condescending now. The deception began 18 months ago. I grew weary of feigning ignorance. Dropping the phone, I was stunned by the revelation that my partner had been deceitful for half a year while I labored tirelessly to support our family. Was Kyle aware of the divorce plans? Absolutely not. This was his idea. He's the one who encouraged me, saying I deserved better and suggesting I engage with Catherine. They wanted to be together openly, not clandestinely. So Kyle wasn't merely her trainer and lover. He was an accomplice in the deception. Our call concluded with Jennifer advising me to accept the reality and sign whatever settlement Catherine offered, as resistance would only lead to further financial strain and legal expenses. I found myself at a loss. The following morning, I dismissed Bob Chin and recruited Margaret Torres, a formidable family lawyer who had recently established her own practice. She was ambitious, intelligent, and specialized in cases where one party was being taken advantage of. After examining the recordings, Michael, it appears this is a divine intervention. Your ex-spouse has confessed to planned fraud and admitted to fabricating the sequence of her affair, also implicating her lawyer in coaching. This is false testimony. In essence, we're preparing for a full-scale legal confrontation. The court hearing was set for the next Thursday. Jennifer entered with a fresh outfit, likely costing more than many people's rent, radiating confidence. Kyle, seated in the audience, smirked as if he had already won a lottery. Catherine presented her case dramatically. Jennifer claimed to be a victim of financial abuse, forced to conceal funds for essentials, driven into another man's arms by years of disregard and domination. On the stand, Jennifer delivered an award-worthy performance. She cried at opportune moments, her voice faltering as she painted a picture of the economic imprisonment I had allegedly imposed. Judge Williams seemed moved by her story. The queries were soft, encouraging. Mrs. Anderson, could you offer the court instances of this financial control? He scrutinized every expenditure I made, even minor purchases like getting a haircut or clothing. He made me feel remorseful for desiring ordinary things that other women in our social circle enjoyed. Could you elaborate on your efforts to tackle these problems within the marriage? I pleaded with him to attend counseling. I endeavored to discuss my emotions, but he was always engrossed in work, always favoring money over our relationship. Catherine then presented financial records demonstrating my earnings and our outgoings, thereby depicting a wealthy man who strictly managed his wife's funds. It was Margaret's turn next. Your Honor, I wish to introduce evidence that I believe will offer valuable context to Mrs. Anderson's testimony. Catherine appeared perplexed as, The discovery phase had ended weeks ago. Could we provide any proof? Margaret moved towards the bench, carrying a transcript and a compact digital recorder. Your Honor, the defendant made multiple recorded statements to my client over the past month, she began. With the court's permission, I'd like to play segments from these recordings. Catherine rose abruptly. Objection. We were not informed of any recordings prior. Margaret responded calmly. These recordings were made by my client during conversations initiated by the defendant, who called him directly against her attorney's advice. In our state, only one party requires consent to record a conversation. Judge Williams appeared interested. I grant permission, but let's establish the foundation first, he said. Margaret asked me briefly about when and why I made the recordings before playing the initial clip, filling the courtroom with Jennifer's voice. Judge Williams detests men with financial control. We're about to seize everything. The courtroom fell silent. Catherine paled, Jennifer looked startled, and Margaret continued. Your Honor, let me now play a segment of Mrs. Anderson discussing her affair timeline. Came Jennifer's voice from the recording. The affair began 18 months ago. I simply grew tired of pretending. For 8 months, Catherine has been documenting your actions. We have evidence going back almost a year. Judge Williams halted the recording. Mrs. Anderson, did you not testify under oath that your relationship with Mr. Kyle started after your marriage had ended due to your husband's behavior? Are you now admitting that was false testimony? Jennifer glanced at Catherine, who was hurriedly organizing papers and avoiding eye contact. The dates might be mixed up. I was emotional. Perjury is a grave issue, Anderson. I'll directly ask you this question. Did your affair with your husband commence before or subsequent to when you started chronicling his alleged financial misconduct? After what seemed like an endless pause, Jennifer murmured, and did your attorney fully understand the accurate sequence of events? Judge Williams then sought a short adjournment, saying, Your Honor, I'd prefer a brief recess too. The request was declined. Mrs. Morrison, the judge continued, were you cognizant that your client had been entangled in an extramarital affair for several months before they started accusing him of financial abuse? Catherine faced a challenging dilemma, either lie and risk disbarment or betray her client. In the end, she admitted, my knowledge suggests the affair began after the marriage had significantly deteriorated. Jennifer, be cautious with your response. Did you intentionally distort the sequence of events regarding your affair when speaking to your lawyer about it? Jennifer began sobbing. These were not tears of manipulation as seen in her earlier testimony. They were tears born out of fear. I assumed it was irrelevant when it commenced. What mattered to me was my dissatisfaction. Margaret played another recording. This was his initiative. He's the one who said I deserved better, and he's the one who encouraged me to consult Catherine. Ms. Anderson, Judge Williams addressed. Are you telling this court that your affair partner had a role in planning your divorce tactics? Jennifer nodded, looking dejected. I glanced at Kyle again. His smirk was gone. Instead, he was quietly attempting to depart from the courtroom. Judge Williams disallowed it. Bailiff, kindly ask that man to stay. I might have questions for him shortly. The events that followed were swift and merciless. Catherine Morrison chose to withdraw from the case due to an untenable attorney-client relationship rupture, as her client allegedly lied and possibly implicated her in fraudulent activities. The court determined that Jennifer committed perjury and tried to mislead it with false statements. Consequently, all financial abuse allegations were discarded. Instead, the house was granted to the judge, who stated that Jennifer's infidelity and deceit contributed significantly to the dissolution of the marriage. Permanent alimony was denied, with no payments owed to Jennifer, as her financial independence and her choice to end the union through infidelity were factors. Additionally, her lavish spending habits demonstrated her ability to support herself. Moreover, unpaid child support warrants for Kyle in another state were discovered. Judge Williams ordered a background check during the break, and Kyle departed the courthouse with handcuffs. Jennifer exited empty-handed, burdened by her legal expenses and a shattered reputation. In the ensuing months, Catherine Morrison's law firm discreetly settled multiple malpractice suits, culminating in her relocation to another state. For some time, the house remained vacant. Despite 22 years of marriage concluding abruptly, even under unfavorable circumstances, I gradually reconstructed my life. Initially swayed by Jennifer's portrayal as a victim, my children eventually understood the truth. Now thriving in college, our bond has grown stronger than it has been in years. I continue to work long hours, but have learned to manage time more effectively. Last year, I resumed dating and found someone who values my dedication rather than begrudging it. Jennifer, as of late information, works in retail and resides in a studio apartment. Ultimately, Kyle emerged from jail without reaching out to her again. As it transpired, he had been deceptively courting 3 other women in a similar manner. People often inquire if I harbor regret over the outcome. The reality is I do not. Jennifer opted for her decisions, and those choices bore their consequences. She could have pursued counseling, separation, or an honest divorce. Instead, she chose deceit, betrayal, and fraud. I elected to safeguard myself. At times, that's what justice appears as. If you find this narrative engaging, kindly click the like button and subscribe for more true-life revenge stories. Keep in mind, sometimes the most effective retribution is simply allowing individuals to confront the results of their own actions.